This council meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of October 2nd, 2023 was published in the Courier News and Star Ledger and placed on the Borough's website as well. Notice of this meeting was also posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall. In addition, a copy of this notice is available to the public, and a copy of the statement shall be included in the minutes of this meeting. Mayor Dennis Sullivan.
Here.
Council members Granville Brady.
Here.
Tom Mitchell. Here. Gina Stravic.
Here.
Roger Vroom.
Here.
Teresa Bonner.
Here.
Randy Pitts.
Here. Please stand and join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of September 18th. So moved. Roll call.
Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell. Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom. Teresa Bonner.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes. We have several departmental reports and notices as listed. Before we begin, I want to welcome everyone to our new Civic Center. As I mentioned at the ribbon cutting the other day, I look forward to many public events, meetings, performances, awards. Right now, we're starting small. It's going to be for the month of October, just our council meetings. Our land use boards will still meet in the police station headquarters until, I believe, November. Kevin, I think, is the time frame on that. So
That's correct. I think the first land use board meeting is November 1st, and they'll remain at the council chambers over at the police headquarters, and then after that, they'll be relocating.
okay. So again, welcome. You're a part of history. I don't know where council met before. They met at the police station. Perhaps at the where Tapestry is now. I know there was a meeting place there.
Borough Hall.
Borough Hall. Okay, so we've come a long way.
They also met at the rescue squad building after Borough Hall burned.
We're climate controlled here. We're accessible. We're mic'd. I'm sure that the environment will make for even better government. We've had great government in Somerville since 1909, and I know this facility will only make it better. So welcome everybody to the kickoff. We're going to start with a presentation from, let's do Resolution 23 first, Kevin and Rich O'Neill.
I'm sorry, which resolution?
Resolution 23-1002-298, is that the acceptance of the fire helmet?
Okay.
Let's
So you're
do
switching
that.
that up. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
let's do that.
It's always good on the first day when you switch things up on me.
That's okay. Rich has such a great history here in town. I think it's only fitting that the first presentation be somebody from, yeah.
Can everybody hear me?
Come up to the,
This one?
yeah. Now, Rich, I'm going to warn you, I can shut that off.
That's probably a good thing.
I have a little box here, which I just got 1 minute of training on, so I can hit this button and then
I'll try to be careful.
talk about power. Yeah, thank you.
No firehouse talk. Several months ago, actually, you started this thing. I've got a helmet here from World War II, civilian helmet, which in town, and I'll go through that. But there was a walking history tour, and I believe you were on it, and you met a gentleman named James Lucenda. He used to reside the east end of town. And he became aware of the museum. I guess you talked to him?
I actually got a box at Borough Hall, and I took it inside. I said, Kevin, let's open this together. And inside was this with a note, and it started the ball. And when we have research to do in history of the town, you're our go-to guy.
Yeah, well, Kevin called me, and I said, I'll go pick this thing up, and we'll see what it's all about. When I looked at it, I knew right away it's not a fire department helmet. It's later became called Civil Defense, but it was the Civilian Defense Corps. Was formed in 1941 by Franklin Roosevelt in anticipation of World War II. He was a little bit ahead of the game. Part of the Civilian Defense Corps was supplementing the ambulances, the fire department, and the police department. Because of that, they formed the Somerville Reserve Fire Force under that Civilian Defense Corps. When I saw the helmet marked West End Hose #3, I figured that's not how we normally mark things, so I knew it was a different animal. So it made me do a little bit of research, and quite frankly, being the Irishman I am, it was right in front of me the whole time, I just never paid attention. On the front here, you'll see a picture, and that's a picture taken during World War II. It shows the fleet of emergency equipment in Somerville, which includes the fire engines and the Civil Defense Corps Reserve Corps.
Wow.
And if you look closely at those pictures, you'll see these helmets are in there hanging on the trucks, and some of the guys are wearing them. So Mr. Nyer was not a member of the West End Hose Company. He was a member of the Civilian Defense Corps Reserve Force. We double-checked that. We checked the West End Hose Company records back to 1888. No mention of them. Roy Gonzelman checked our local exempt registers. No mention of them. He didn't check with the state. No mention of them. So clearly, Mr. Nyer was a member of the Civilian Defense Corps, a reserve of the Somerville Fire Department. So we had this helmet. We have a small World War II display in the museum. We will add this to it. And we'll also mention Mr. Nyer's name. We don't have too many helmets that we know who wore them, but we have them. We don't know who wore them. So this will be in our museum. And this weekend, we're open for the history tour in the county. We're one of the stations. We're open Saturday and Sunday. We're open from 10 to 5 on Saturday and 1 to 4 on Sunday. Hopefully, we're going to pump our hand pumper that day and let kids pump it that Sunday afternoon. We're prepping it. We haven't pumped it since COVID started. I have oiled the seals, needs food oil, did all that kind of stuff you're supposed to do. But we'll find out Saturday or Sunday if it's really going to work. But come on out, look at the helmet, pump a little bit of water, watch the kids have fun. That'll be the day on Saturday.
Could you tell everyone the exact address to go to, just for anybody who's not?
Funny you should say that. We don't know the exact address of the museum. It has several.
Okay.
If you go around 17 North Dottie Avenue, that'll get you there. But it's 23, it's 15, it's 12. We don't really know.
Okay, thank you.
Rich, thank you. Your passion for the town, your knowledge of the history, it's invaluable, and I thank you for all the hours you put into it.
Thank you.
You'll send a thank you letter?
Yes.
I'll take this, so, yeah.
And just to the public, if you're cleaning out great-grandma's attic or Uncle Joe's, Foot Locker or whatever, and you find something that you think might be Somerville related, bring it to Borough Hall, and I'll dump it on Mr. O'Neill, and we'll give it its proper place. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to move Resolution 298.
Second?
Roll call.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. From the history of the past to history of the present and future, we have a presentation from Route 22 Dispensary, LLC. Just by way of background, several years ago, people of Somerville voted about 70% in favor of a referendum question on the legalization of the use, rather, within the town of various cannabis organizations. It was first approved at the state level, and then each town got to opt. And we set in motion a development of an ordinance that limited the location, put requirements in terms of what we would like to see, how the place would operate, requirements for licensing and security, created an application process. And although we've had a lot of inquiries, correct, Kevin, over the last 2 years, we have not yet had a formal application. We have 2 licenses available. None have been granted yet. And this is the first organization that's gotten this far in the process. So I wanted to bring them in to present their concept. And we have a resolution later on, which is not the end of anything. It's the beginning of the beginning. So with that, I'll bring up Route 22 for their presentation.
Sure, we have a presentation we could pass out, if that's okay?
Okay, and if you use this microphone, that'll be good.
Sure. We'll keep one of them.
Sarah?
Mayor, should we sit down here to?
It should pick up.
Stand?
Yeah, that mic should pick up as well.
Okay, maybe we'll sit together here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for the introduction. Congrats to the borough, by the way, on the new facility. My name is Joe Savino. I'm a former Somerville resident. I currently live in Bridgewater. I used to live on North Bridge Street with my wife and my daughter, close to Buffalo Wild Wings, so close to the highway. My background is in finance. I'm a Jersey guy. I grew up in northern New Jersey, went to Rutgers, and while I was working for the first about 12 years of my career after college, I was living up in Hudson County and working in the city, working in the finance industry. And since then, I've been self-employed as a mortgage broker, as a consultant for Colina Health, and I'm also a private piano instructor for children. So a variety of things. But once the state legalized cannabis, which was, several years ago now, or at least when they first started talking about it was several years ago, before, it was officially passed. That was when I really started looking into the industry, trying to see what it would take to get an operation off the ground. I have a friend of mine from college, from Rutgers, who lives in Colorado, and he was kind of my guiding light in those first year or so, just kind of giving me some education. And once it did pass, I started looking into, how could I realistically make something happen? What towns opted in? What towns opted out? Of course, being right here in Bridgewater and from Somerville, I've been looking here all along. The challenge in this situation frequently is to find a piece of real estate that is, or a property that fits in the zone, that has an owner that is willing to work with you, that is affordable, and that can, fulfill kind of all of the things that you're looking for when starting a business. And the other challenge is finding someone who really, knows how to do it and has experience running an operation. And that's where I met Jim through a mutual acquaintance and attorney of ours about a year and a half ago. James and I have been working on finding a suitable retail location, and recently we did. And so James has about almost 15 years, actually. I think that's overselling a little bit, about 12 or 13 years in the cannabis industry across a variety of operations, which he'll be happy to tell you about. And so we put together an application that we think checks all the boxes and will be an asset to the community. The idea is kind of to have a small craft cannabis store, and I'll hand it over from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, so I live in Princeton, New Jersey. My wife is from Trenton, and we had an opportunity to move back to New Jersey from Michigan a couple years ago. So we're happy to be in Jersey again. We did live together in Ewing for a couple years when my son was first born about 12 years ago. So this is my second stint in New Jersey. But I had an opportunity to move back here. Like Joe said, I have a long history in cannabis. Prior to being a cannabis investor and operator, I'm an accountant. I used to work for hospitals. So I was a hospital finance executive, hospital and healthcare consultant. That was my first career. I have my MBA in healthcare with an emphasis on healthcare finance. So that was my original career. That opened up an opportunity for me to pursue some entrepreneurial opportunities in Colorado in 2009 and 10. So I relocated. I had a good friend of mine in Denver as an industrial engineer. We had an opportunity to go there. We started a small friends and family business, a small little vertical cannabis operation with a small grow and a few dispensaries. That's where I started my career in cannabis. That was very early, before the first regulated states, or Colorado was just starting to regulate medical marijuana. I have a healthcare background. I thought that was a good fit for me. It was something I was interested in, and that snowballed into other opportunities. I'm from Michigan originally, from East Lansing, Michigan. Michigan had a very similar program to Colorado that allowed me the opportunity to go back to Michigan to help lobby the state there to move from a largely unregulated system into a more regulated medical system That was successful in 2016, and then that translated into a recreational program there. In the meantime, I was part of an operation in Illinois and did consulting in various states around the country. Just my business background and finance and accounting background just offered me an opportunity to get involved in a lot of different areas. While in Michigan, I had an opportunity to own and operate retail dispensaries. The first one that we opened was called Pure Options, which was in Lansing, Michigan. That turned into a multi-store business over the years. It's now branded as Pure Brands, and also a manufacturing and a grow operation called ProGrow. After co-founding that business, I moved on to another company called Skymint Brands. That was a large vertical business in Michigan that was in a go public route where they were going to, be listed on the Canadian exchange. I joined them as a senior vice president of real estate and M&A and special projects, and that kind of morphed into an operations role when I was actually managing the entire cultivation, manufacturing part of the business during the COVID pandemic. So that was a real challenge. I had 450 employees that reported up through me. Got worn out from that opportunity and that responsibility, I guess, during the COVID pandemic. And then I started a different company called SIP, and that is a contract manufacturing business where we take oils and we make them water soluble through a kind of a pharmaceutical process. We encapsulate the oil molecules with a surfactant, and we make water soluble products, and we contract manufacture for various brands in Michigan. I'm relocating that business here to New Jersey, but our real interest going forward, Joe and I both have young children, and we're looking for something that we can manage ourselves, really hands-on. So this is the opportunity from a retail perspective, and Joe and I are also part of a small grow facility business called MB1 Industries, which is going to be operating a small craft grow facility out of Middlesex Borough. We recently received our land use approval there, so we went through a very long process with site plan approval, and we're happy to get that approved and start construction here in the next month. So essentially what Joe and I are looking to do is combine our small little grow facility that him and I can manage, it's less than 4,000 square feet, with a retail opportunity here in something that was within 30 to 40 miles of our homes. And so Joe and I have worked on various projects together, obviously on the small grow facility, and Joe felt there was a great opportunity here in Somerville if we could find a real estate. Now that was very challenging. That's why I think no one's come before you yet, primarily because the real estate is very limited, and it was difficult to find a property that you could make work financially. We were able to do that. We found a property on 22 at the Sunoco gas station. We have a good relationship with the owner of that gas station and have a development plan in place that we'd like to pursue with your blessing from a licensing standpoint. So with that, that's kind of our background, and I'd like to go through the presentation with you if we could. And this is
Sure, I'd like you to focus on how your application matches the ordinance that created it.
okay. And we presented our full application to Kevin and the committee, and this is a 10-page slide that I think summarizes that application. So if you turn to page 1, this is a zoning map of Somerville. Obviously, the property has to be in the B5 zone. We are the last parcel to the east along the boundary of the borough along 22 there. So you can see the yellow highlighted and red outlined parcel there is the one that we have a lease on and are prepared to move forward with construction on once we have your approval and site plan approval.
So you will not be purchasing the property, you will be a tenant And the current owner will maintain ownership.
That's correct, yep.
It's
And-
a 10-year lease with a 10-year option.
Yep, and we have an option, it's not built into the lease to purchase, but we'd like to purchase the property long-term and own it. So you can see there, it's the furthest east, and we think it's a great property, it meets the zoning, it's very far away from the high school, it's far away from other schools, it has no residential parcels that are bordering it, and it's also along the Gaston Avenue thoroughfare there. So we feel it's a great location overall with access off of Route 22 and also off of Gaston Avenue, so. The third page there is a preliminary site plan concept, just a drawing of the parcel itself. As we mentioned, it's currently a gas station. The pumps, the tanks would all be removed, the canopy would be removed. We'd maintain the existing building there, and we'd build a second story. The existing building is about 1,300 square feet. We need about 2,500 square feet, we feel, to effectively manage and run a cannabis retail operation, a compliant retail operation with all of the ancillary space that we need for inventory, staff, break rooms, office space, et cetera. So the building footprint would maintain, would stay the same, and then we would build a second story there. On the right-hand side of page 3 is the preliminary elevation concept. This is not an architectural concept yet. We are retaining an architect here that locally that's worked on some projects.
Yeah.
So we'll be developing the architectural plans much further as, we get into the site plan process.
And all that would be subject to planning board review and approval.
Yes, sir. So page 4 is a preliminary floor plan. This is a functional floor plan that we feel checks, the operational and compliance boxes that we need at the state level and just from an operation standpoint. The drawing on the left is the first floor. There's an existing, I believe the existing double doors on this on the building are towards the middle of the building, so we're gonna create the entrance on the right-hand side of the building. You'd walk into a secured vestibule area where there would be a security guard that would be checking IDs, making sure that you have a valid ID, that you're 21 and older before entering the secured sales floor. And then you would enter the sales floor to the left, and you'd have an opportunity to self-order there if you'd like to on a kiosk for pickup, or you could get in line and order through one of our sales reps and cashiers. Behind that, the POS station there, you see 5 of them. Behind that would be a secured area for employees only. That's where the sales and fulfillment would be happening. And then on the right-hand side of the page is the second floor. There would be a staircase that would go to the second floor. And in that second floor, there would be a common area for staff, for a breaking area. There would be annoying and a bad look, in my opinion. So I think New Jersey is doing a lot of really good things with their regulations. So the most that you'll see from an advertising standpoint is really just the sign of the name of our facility on the building itself. Now we can do, have a social media presence, and we can do some things like that, but there's very limited advertising. So essentially that's the nuisance plan that we laid out. Page 8 is a development timeline. So this lays out what we think is a likely scenario for the entitlement and the licensing process, and also the construction, permitting, inspection, and then a launch. So we don't expect this store would be open until January of 2025, so a little over a year from now. So the first part of this timeline shows that we secured a LOI in July. We had a lease executed in August. We submitted our local application in September, and we're hoping for approval from the chamber tonight. Once we have that approval and a resolution of support from the municipality, we're allowed to move to the next phase in the state licensing process. There's two really important pieces that we need from the municipality. We need a resolution of support passed by the council, and we also need a zoning approval letter, or a zoning authorization letter that simply says the property is in the right zone, but it's not committed to, being tied to site plan approval. We still have to go through that process. So we need those two pieces, and then we're ready to submit our state application to the CRC. Once we submit our state application to the CRC, it typically takes about 6 months, is what we're planning, by the time we submit it to going through the investigative process, which is essentially you get a caseworker assigned to you. They make sure that all your corporate paperwork's in place, that your funding is legitimate, that they ask questions about that, about your partnerships, any contracts that you have. You get fingerprinted and you go through that process. And then they make a recommendation to the board. That application goes to the board for approval. They vote on it and approve it at their regular scheduled meetings. After that happens, then you go into a second phase, which is called the compliance phase. And that's where you get a different caseworker assigned that's digging in further into your construction timelines, when you expect to open, and a variety of other standard operating procedures and checklists that you have to satisfy before you're able to open the store. So we're hoping that the annual CRC licensing process and our site plan process are happening in parallel. We expect the site plan process hopefully to take 5 months from the design and submittal standpoint to the review and the hearing date. After that, we'd be in the construction phase for approximately 6 or 7 months. And then we'd be in a final state and local approval inspection phase and approval phase, and then we would hopefully open in January 2025. Slide number 9 is our community impact plan. This was a requirement. Various components of this slide were a requirement of the local application. We have a local hiring and diversity plan that was in place. Our goal is to hire 50% of our staff from the borough. We'll have a special emphasis on hiring veterans, women and minorities, so that'll be a part of our recruitment process, is to have those goals in place. And we're expected to have about 15 full-time employees. FTEs, I should say, full-time equivalents at the location. So we'll have some part-time staff, so our total staff count will be higher than that, maybe in the low 20s, with part-time and full-time staff there. So some of the other benefits that we felt to the community was, a conversion and beautification of a Sunoco gas station. I believe this gas station was it closed for a little while and then reopened, I think.
That's true.
I think it was.
Ownership changed hands.
Yeah, it may have.
The current owners purchased it 4 years ago.
Okay, yeah, and there's a clustering along Route 22, as you guys know. There's five gas stations there. I think this is an opportunity to diversify the businesses there. We're going to remove the tanks. We're going to clean up the property and repurpose it. As part of our site plan application and requirements, I'm sure electric charging spaces are going to be required, and we've considered potentially a supercharger station there as well. Just kind of a tip of the cap to, we're converting this from a gas station into different retail, but with electric vehicles being so prominent, and I drive electric vehicle as well, so I think it's fitting to have some spaces there for electric charging. We think it's a great location. First, it's a really important point here. Talked about the access off of 22 and Gaston. I think that's pretty unique for us to have both a corner parcel there that has access to both, so I think that's really positive. For commuter traffic, I think, the majority of our customers will probably come from, those folks traveling eastbound on Route 22, but also Gaston Avenue allows us convenient access to the borough and the residential neighborhoods and folks here in the area as well from the south. You may be aware that, I'm sure you are, that there's a local transfer tax that the retail business or any business that's a cannabis business conducting their business primarily in the borough where they're licensed, they have to pay a 2% transfer tax fee of their gross receipts, essentially. So we're anticipating when the business is fully operational that it can do potentially 10 million a year in sales. That 2% excise tax would translate to $200,000 transfer tax that we would owe to the municipality. Right now, it's my understanding that tax, we collect it at the retail level, we submit it to the state, and then the state submits it back to the local municipality. Part of, important piece of the local application and, why we pursued so aggressively Somerville is our local connection here. Joe loves his community. He lives right across 22. He lived here in Somerville for many years. It's kind of a perfect opportunity for us, honestly.
Yep.
And so I think that helps us a lot. I think from just a business, building a brand, connecting with the community, to have somebody like Joe that's been here, and I'm supporting him from the expertise standpoint and his operating partner. And it's close for me as well. It's only about a 30-minute drive from Princeton.
Yeah.
Community outreach, we've started engaging in a couple different areas with a focus on the arts and then a focus on youth drug education. So we're just starting to open up some of the conversations and moving them forward with some different organizations that would like to participate with us. As we get further towards operations, and I think that's when we're going to have more, I would say, established relationships with these charities for philanthropic opportunities for us to volunteer and also contribute financially. But those two areas, in addition to supporting local food pantries, is our philanthropic goals.
Yeah.
So.
We've spoken with Susan Anton at Arts on Division. We've spoken with Jack Reynolds at Not an Easy Fix. And we've spoken with Maisha Ware at the Somerset Treatment Center. And we're open to any other suggestions that the borough is interested in.
Yep, and our last slide there is just a bio on both Joe and I for your benefit, and happy to take any questions that you may have.
All right. First of all, I hope council's had a chance to look at the packet that you were so gracious to provide. It was a lot more substantial than this, so I thank you for the executive summary. Jeremy, the application as submitted meets all the criteria of the ordinance.
Yeah, unless you've seen some more recent guidance than I have, Kevin, the Trenton leaves it pretty much up to the council. The Cannabis Regulatory Commission requires just the two things from you. One, that they are going to have to get planning board approval, and that they otherwise meet the zoning criteria. And two, you find them to be an acceptable applicant. As long as you know that they have secured the appropriate real estate, Trenton hasn't given a lot of guidance on what other criteria you are to use in determining that.
So basically, our enabling ordinance is really the document that we have to, flesh out.
And based on their presentation, it sounds like they're in compliance with the ordinance. Kevin drafted the initial ordinance, and then Kara and I edited it, and as far as I'm concerned, it does comply. Their application does.
All right, let's go around the dais. We'll start with Dr. Brady. Any questions of the applicant?
No, actually, I thought it was an excellent presentation, and my only concern is that I hope you have better luck than off-track betting did when it became legal. I think that you've covered all the bases. My feeling is that local approval will have a great deal of weight with the state. and that I think you've covered all the bases. I am familiar with the area, and to be honest with you, it is not an area where you're going to see a lot of people congregating. It's not near a school, near a church, or any other large activity where people congregate. I think it's a great plan, to be honest with you.
Great, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
Thanks.
Ms. Bonner?
I agree with what Councilman Brady said. And my only question is, and this may have been in the application, who does the testing of the product you'll be selling?
All of the testing is required by the manufacturers or the cultivators before it arrives at the retail center. So anything that we are able to sell at retail has to be third-party tested
Okay.
before it arrives to us. So it'll be,
Is that a state-run?
It goes to a state laboratory
agency?
from a cultivator or manufacturer to a state licensed laboratory testing facility, then,
Yep.
then to the retail.
yep, and they'll be testing for contamination, microbial contamination, pesticide, heavy metal contamination. They will do a cannabinoid profile and a few other tests as well. And those test results have to be printed in what they call a variable tag. That variable tag gets attached to each product, each individual product, so that when it's sold, it can be referenced, and it's also trackable in case of a recall.
Yeah, I think that's, it's a big concern in general with, quality of what people are using and making sure that there's nothing that's not on the label, nothing that's, and that's the positive thing I think about having dispensaries, local dispensaries, is that there is a reputable place to find what people are looking for, so.
Right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we know that, there's a lot of, I guess, industrial hemp qualified stores that sell Delta 8 and Delta 9 products through like the hemp
Yeah,
laws, so they're kind of in this gray area.
yeah. So admittedly, I don't know the difference between Delta 8 and what you will be selling. But from what I've heard from people I've asked, they say, oh, it's so different, it's totally different. I don't,
Well, Delta 8's actually made through a chemical process where they take a CBD isolate and
see.
they chemically turn it into Delta 8 through a, I'm not a scientist, but
so it has the THC.
yeah, they changed yeah, exactly, they changed the molecule, so it's actually a THC molecule, but it's a Delta 8 versus a Delta 9, so there's a difference in an atom. But it essentially qualifies under some of the gray area in the federal farm bill, and it really becomes up to the states whether they enforce it or they don't enforce it. Right now, the state of New Jersey doesn't allow its industrial hemp manufacturers to actually produce products with Delta 8. So only the cannabis regulated businesses can deal with THC, Delta 8 or 9, and not, and industrial hemp manufacturers cannot, but they haven't banned industrial hemp retailers from selling it or gas stations, so it's kind of everywhere, so.
Yeah,
It's a little
upsetting.
confusing for consumers, but certainly this would be a fully licensed business with all of the third-party requirements and the taxation behind it. And so we're hopeful in the future they clarify what they're doing with the hemp laws, but just something that we're dealing with.
That could only be a positive thing, making sure that it's state regulated and third-party tested. So thank
Yep.
you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilman Mitchell?
Yeah, well, I want to say, first of all, I certainly hope that the introduction of regulated cannabis provides a non-addictive alternative to opioids for people with chronic pain problems, and that this is going to help solve the opioid problem, which is a terrible problem in our country right now. And I'd like to also say I really love your location. It is at a at the extreme northeast corner of town. There is no place within walking distance, no reason at all why young people would be walking along those streets in that area.
Yep.
And that, together with your security procedures, should keep our young people safe. So by all means, kudos on that.
Thank you.
Councilwoman.
I did read your lengthy version of your program, and I found it extremely easy to read and well-written. And as previously said, I think it's a solid plan. The one thing I am concerned about is children getting a hold of edibles.
Yep.
And there's been a lot in the health industry news and so on about that. And I do hope that you, I think I hear you mention some kind of educational campaign.
Yep.
So I would hope that you could do that, through your store and other promotional means. And also maybe there's a place for them to line up with our municipal alliance. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
We'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, we think that's like one of the most important pieces of the regulated cannabis industry that we need to be concerned about is youth education. Cannabis use, THC use, is not healthy for kids. And we know that. The science is clear on that, especially high THC versions of products. So Joe and I both have young kids. It's something that, we're preparing to have those conversations with our kids. It is dangerous. It needs, you have to wait until you're an adult really to safely consume it. And there needs to be lower dosed options and some education around how to dose it properly.
Not only that, but adults leaving it in the hands where very young children, toddlers and so on, think it's
Yep.
candy and that piece, and selling products that look like candy versus selling medicinal type products. So-
Absolutely.
Packaging, yeah.
Yeah.
Packaging is important, and the way that it's, the
Yep.
way that it's labeled, absolutely.
So there are child-resistant packaging requirements under the regulated system. Now, we have this kind of pseudo-regulated we talked about that doesn't have that requirement with the industrial hemp Delta 9 and 8 products. So the regulated products have to be child-resistant. There's also a lot of restrictions about the caricatures that you can use and how the advertising specifically can't be appealing to children. So even the form factors and like a gummy that you use can't be a shape of a bear. It has to be just a geometric shape. So there's a lot of regulations around that with the state license system. So, and certainly I think education and, parents understanding how to, the dangers of high dose edibles for children. I mean, I think that's where you're seeing a lot of like poison control, a lot of issues with a regulated space is, kids getting a hold of them in their homes and then ending up in the emergency room. So there's only so much we can do as a business, but to prevent that. But I think the education that we can provide, either through social media, through in-store, educational area within our store to kind of call that out. I think that's going to be kind of our social responsibility to make sure that we're doing that. Maybe other stores won't. And also have an opportunity to participate with a charitable organization that's focused on drug education for youth. Because I think it's really important to have these conversations with kids when they're in middle school and high school. Maybe not so much middle school. I feel like it's personally important in middle school.
Third grade.
As a mother of a middle schooler, it does need to start at least in middle school, if not sooner.
That's when I was introduced to cannabis, was in middle school.
It's happening a lot earlier now.
So if the education and the data is there to talk to kids about it, I think that's the best way that we can try to reduce.
You'd be surprised what young kids know. They grow up a lot faster than we did.
Yeah.
Mr. Vroom.
We've already met, obviously, through the committee. I think you guys put together a great program. Obviously, we have the DARE program as well in the borough that's run through our police department, so that'd be another great venue. We've got 2 or 3 great officers that do it, I think, now, I believe. So that I think that checks a lot of the boxes that some of my fellow council folks are talking about here. Hopefully at the end of the day, parents parent. And I know that you have to have certain shapes and all those lines that keep people and children away from them, but at the end, there's only so much we can do. What happens in people's homes that's hard for you guys to do, but I appreciate that you're willing to work with other excuse me, other organizations. And again, I think, I know you mentioned a few of them, and the Municipal Alliance is great, but our DARE officers are the ones that are in the schools, working with the kids already. And I think that that's a great avenue for you guys to approach moving forward, as we go along.
We'll
So,
reach
thank
out.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
we're happy
you.
to do that. Thank you.
Mr. President.
I too have met with you earlier, and I'm pleased with your presentation. I really have no further questions. The council has presented great questions, and I'm your
All right.
host.
Understood, thank you.
I'll finish up. You put a lot of focus on security. Will there be a way to tie your security system in with our police department directly? Because they're literally just down the street.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, we can give them access to our cloud-based DVR, so they can see all our surveillance systems, and our burglary will be tied into the police department.
As well as the state's police department, the burglary system.
I especially like the community part of your presentation that you showed us previous to this, in terms of the hiring practices, in terms of wanting to work with existing, organizations, because we're all here for our youth, and they are at risk, and they are vulnerable, and this will be an attractive nuisance. When I was growing up, it was just a construction site. You just wanted to go and, and have fun there. And the world has changed. And I like the commitment that you're making to making sure that your operation is safe and sensitive.
Thank you.
All right. We have a resolution, but what I'd like to do first, and even though we don't have no legal requirements since it's not an ordinance, I would like to entertain a motion to open to the public for brief comment. We'll adhere to the 3-minute comment rule that we normally do for open public, and if you would restrict your comments to this topic alone. So I need a motion to open.
I'll move, Your Honor.
I second.
Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Teresa Bonner.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
All right, open public comment on this application. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Teresa Bonner. And Randy Pitts.
All right, hearing's closed. All right, I'd like to move from the consent agenda, Resolution 23-1002-300, resolution for local support for suitability of cannabis business to Route 22 Dispensary, LLC, for the issuance of a Class 5 retailer license at address 1062 Route 22 East, Somerville, New Jersey, as per application dated September 12, 2023. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady.
Yes.
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Teresa Bonner.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Jeremy, if I could ask from this point forward now what the process will be for the applicant?
Well, you can proceed two paths, but you have to, now that you've gotten the approval from the town, you have to bring that to the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, and you'll also be making a site plan application to the plan.
Yes.
And those two things aren't exclusive, you can do them at the same time.
Yep.
And, and for the public, this application, as any land use application, will come to the land use board, and in this case, since it's a conforming use in the B5 zone, it will be a planning board initiative. And once they submit their documents for review, the application will be deemed complete and put on the planning board agenda according to a reasonable timetable. So, gentlemen, I thank you for your thoroughness, for your sensitivity. It's new, and as a result, we're all going to learn as we go forward. But I wish you well. Resources of the borough at your disposal, and we look forward to you presenting a suitable application to our planning board.
And Mayor, we'd like to extend the offer, if we're, or once we are able to get through the site plan approval process and the construction's complete, to invite you all over to tour the facility so you can see the interior and understand kind of how the operation works. So we'd be happy to arrange that too in the future.
Well, we invited you here to our new home, so we should see
Yeah,
yours as
there you
well.
go.
But again, I thank you for not just being a business, but it sounds like you have a conscience too. And
Yeah.
that's not always the case in the business community. So I thank you for that. I wish you well going forward, and we'll see you at the next step.
Okay?
Thank you
Have a
very
good
much,
evening.
everyone.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
We have one proclamation recognizing Knockout Opioid Abuse Day, October 6, 2023. Whereas New Jersey is in the midst of a life-threatening opioid abuse epidemic causing unnecessary death and addiction in New Jersey, be it resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Governor Murphy, the New Jersey State Department of Human Services, State President Scutari, Assemblyman Speaker Coughlin, Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey, and the New Jersey State League of Municipalities, signed by myself, Dennis Sullivan, Mayor of the Borough of Somerville, dated 10/6/23. Kevin, if you would post this in a prominent spot and provide a copy on our website, well, I would appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, committee reports. We will start with Dr. Brady.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to report some good news, and that good news is we have now sold the sewer system. For those of you who are chronologically impaired, we had the referendum just last November, Election Day 2022. It was passed by over 75% of the voters, and we now have it culminated in a sale. I think it's unusual, unbelievably unusual, that we did anything so quickly. I have to thank former Mayor Mike Kerwin and Your Honor for lending your names and faces to the volumes of material that went out to the public, because I'm sure that was one of the reasons why people voted for what was basically a nonpartisan referendum, and I think it was great. So for anyone who are availing themselves of the sanitary waste utility from now on, please remember these people and keep them in your thoughts. I thank you very much, Your Honor, and that's my report.
Thank you. Well spoken. Mrs. Bonner.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to meet with the DPW last week, Mr. Hadley, and his crew, because I am now the liaison for the council. We were able, he showed me the facility and some of the equipment. We spoke for a little bit about his goals for the DPW in the future. So he gave me a little update on curbside leaf pickup. The curbside leaf pickup will start on October 30th. Residents at that time will be able to rake their leaves to the curb. Until then, you can currently put your leaves on the curb in paper bags and call the DPW for pickup. The number to do that is 908-704-7195. And the Borough website has been updated with all the information about leaf pickup and fall cleanup. All the details can be found at somervillenj.org/leaves if you have any questions about what you need to do with your lawn debris. So that is my update from DPW for this week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin, make sure that all that's on the website, because it's been a year since we did leaves. And I would just reiterate, I know we push it out all the time, folks, and I know it's easy just to rake the leaves into the street. But if you could please try to keep the leaves on the median between your curb and sidewalk. Once they're in the street, they wind up in the storm drains, and it's just not, the combination of leaves and rainfall, just, they don't work together. I know it's easy just to rake them down and get them off your property, but if you could, and the wind will blow them, of course, but if you could try real hard, and I know we say this every year, and it just would be a lot easier and a lot safer to keep the leaves out of the storm sewers. So please, check the website. It'll have the do's and don'ts. And hopefully by the end of the pickup cycle, then all the leaves will be gone, and we can focus on our snow removal, which it's going to be a hard act to follow from last winter, which was one of the milder winters, but we did it last year. I think we can do it again this year. So leaves are coming down. Just help us keep our town safe. All right, Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, this coming weekend is Weekend Journey into the Past, and we heard from Rich O'Neill about the Fire Museum, which is always a popular destination for the historic tours, but we're also going to have historic tours of the Borough Hall, which is the which will be open for historic tours. There's going to be historical programming at the Wallace House and Old Dutch Parsonage as well. So it looks like we're going to have a nice weekend. Find out about the very rich history of Somerville and of Somerset County in general. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
The Environmental Commission had a most successful event yesterday with the EV, electric car show, in tandem with the street fair. So it was great to see the public out, tons of Somerville people out there enjoying the fresh air and sunshine we've been missing for so long with all the rain we had. We also presented the EV car show in conjunction with PSE&G. We are currently running a municipal campaign to have homeowners have assessments done in their homes to consider how to save energy and money. So if you need new systems, you live in an older home, you want to have it evaluated. There are lots of free resources as well as rebates if you need to invest in renovations or upgrades. So all that literature is on the website of the and I think the Facebook page of the Environmental Commission. So we've been blasting out a lot of information, so that's what it's all about, to put it in simple terms. And if you have any questions, the Environmental Commission group are very versed in it and happy to speak to you about it. The other thing I want to talk about, we talked about leaves. An alternative to putting your leaves out to the curb is mulching your leaves in your lawn and also composting them. So that's annually an Environmental Commission push to reduce the amount of leaves you put. Will save our tax dollars, and it's a good environmental practice as well. Enriches your soil, save it for your gardens, and again, I think on the website of the Environmental Commission page, you can find more information about that. The Environmental Commission meets on the second Tuesday of the month, so if you have any questions, interest, and involvement, do show up at one of those meetings. And again, there's an active Facebook page and an address where you can contact our members. I think lastly, October 21st, we have about 30-some trees being planted over at Walk Park at Walnut Street, replacing some of the trees that we took down and adding through a grant program with MetLife and the Arbor Day Foundation. So real important, if you take a tree down in your yard, the Environmental Commission really encourages you to plant 2 new ones. And hopefully that's a good practice. The benefits of trees are immense. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Broom.
Piggybacking on PSE&G, I'm sure that you've seen through our social media and our website, as well as what's going on, thank you, around town. Paving is starting, weather permitting, so I know that is a major concern of the folks that live in the borough. People are concerned about their shocks and springs and all sorts of good stuff, but at the end of this, we'll have nice new roads courtesy of PSE&G. So if you go to our website, somervillenj.org/PSEG-paving, you'll find the current paving schedule that exists for those roads. It looks like it's taking about 3 months from the start of the project to get your road repaved. So if you're concerned when your road will be done, again, that information will be forthcoming from PSE&G, again, as weather permits, and that will be available via our website. From a fire prevention and protection standpoint, as the weather gets cooler, our rise in carbon monoxide calls raise. So please make sure that you're checking your carbon monoxide detectors in your homes as people start to use their forced hot air and heating systems. there tend to be leaks and all sorts of things that may happen. So, it's always a good rule of thumb that before you need it, get it checked out, make sure that it's functioning, because you don't want to find out that you have an issue with your heating system when the fire department shows up and has to shut it down, because it may be causing a gas leak in your house, or again, be the cause of carbon monoxide in your home. So now is a good time of year, as we are in the third quarter, or ending the third quarter, starting the fourth quarter, to again check your smoke detectors, check your carbon monoxide detectors, and make sure that you are within the 10 years. If you have battery-operated ones, as many residents in the borough have, please make sure that you check your batteries, and if it's been the 6 months, to replace those 9 volts again. Having a functioning smoke detector, a functioning carbon monoxide detector means, could be the difference between saving your family and having a tragedy, and we don't want tragedies in the borough. So please make sure that you are, again, keeping up on that. We avoided we are lucky that we avoided quite a crazy storm that just blew through and affected our neighbors to the south and to the north of us, Hoboken, areas of Asbury Park, Ocean Grove, Manhattan. Again, we know that flooding can happen in the borough. Please make sure that as information comes out from our OEM coordinator and from the borough itself, that you do read it and you do take it seriously. The mayor talked about storm drains. If you have them in front of your house, I have 4. I happen to live in an area where there's 4 around my property, and I will go out, and so do my neighbors. I know that we don't all feel like it's our job, but I guarantee you I'm out there because I'm looking out for my fellow neighbors. I go out there and just check the storm drain and make sure it's clear, because not everybody keeps their leaves on their property, so we have to make sure that we take a look and do that. So just make sure that you're aware of your surroundings, know what's going on. If there's water across the roadway, please, please, please stop driving through it, turn around, go another way. When my wife and I and our family were going to my son's cross-country meet, he hates it when I call it track, cross-country meet, we drove through on South Side, and the park was obviously underwater. Luckily, the road had not flooded away, but on both sides. So we know the areas in town that definitely do flood. Just be aware of that. Again, we were fortunate. We may not be as fortunate the next time a large storm comes through. So these are things to think about. And just stay safe out there as again, the winter months get closer, and the rain hopefully leaves Somerville alone this year. That's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Good thoughts. Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to invite everyone to join me and a few members of the PD this Thursday, October 5th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for Coffee with a Cop. That'll be held at Starbucks. Come out and tell them the great job that they're doing. They keep us safe, so I'd like to see everyone's face there. Thank you.
That's it? That's it. Okay. Just 2 quick things from me. School's back in session, and our youth are doing great. Our football team is 4-2. They had a good win against Elizabeth the other day. My wife and I were out of town, but we were arguing in the car. She, a native of Elizabeth, and I, as an adopted son of Somerville, who was going to win. And we were in upstate New York, and we couldn't get CTC on the radio, so we had to wait till I got home that night to find out the final score. So congratulations to our Pioneers. And I was also pleased to see that Somerville High School had 9, I believe, merit scholarship semifinalists. That's a tremendous record for a town our size. I don't know, I think nationwide there were only about 40,000 students, and we had 9 of them here. So it's a testament not only to the students, but to the faculty and, of course, to their parents. Because as a parent, you are your child's first teacher. So congratulations to our students and the nurturing adults that got them that far. Finally, for people of my age bracket in the senior division, COVID and flu shots are now available. I was able to get an appointment relatively quickly at one of the local pharmacies. And although I'm technologically challenged when it comes to keyboard skills, I was able to get an appointment for tomorrow. So if you're waiting for your doctor to get the serum, you can check Walgreens, Rite Aid, CVS. They seem to be pretty prevalent and easy to get. And if you're on Medicare, like some of us are, there's no charge. So I know vaccines have been very controversial over the last few years. This is just the next reiteration, and it's probably going to be like a flu shot at some point. It's going to be just a yearly routine kind of a thing. Viruses are funny. They want to survive, and they morph and they change and they transform themselves so that they can, be successful. So if you're on the fence about it, check the CDC, website, talk to your doctor. But the vaccines are, pretty available right now, and it's just a matter of a few clicks and a sore arm for a day or two, and hopefully you'll put yourself in a good immune situation. They're not a cure, but if you can protect yourself and your loved ones, we'll all be better off for it. No one wants to go back to 2020. So hopefully, the medical advances are what they are, and I would encourage you to take advantage if you're so inclined. We have one ordinance for introduction tonight, 2719-231002, creating Chapter 149B of the Borough Code entitled Stormwater Privately Owned Storage Facilities for Salt and Other De-icing Materials. I need a motion for introduction only.
So moved.
Second?
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes?
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Kevin, that'll be on for hearing at our next meeting? Or-
Probably one after that, we'd send this to the Environmental Commission. It is a state template, though, so, so I mean,
It's required by the state, correct, Kevin?
it's required, yeah.
So if the timing allows it for the next meeting, if not for our first meeting in November. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, we've had our open public session. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes?
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Okay, open session. You can approach the mic to my left. Yes, come on up. Name and address for the record.
Yes. Okay, I hope this is on. Jerry DeSapio, 46 East Main. Wow. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce you, to invite you rather. I'm so sorry, I'm just a little loopy here. I think it's the lighting. It's very good, but for me, it's a little bit bright.
I can control the microphone. I cannot control the lights. We'll work on that for the next meeting.
On behalf of the Environmental Commission, I would like to invite you to the Wallace House this weekend, especially on Sunday. The program is called Boston's Tea and Salem's Tree. So, Mr. Mayor, do you recall last year, you actually planted the seedling?
Well,
The
I helped.
Salem seedling.
It
You-
was
you
planted.
helped.
I picked up one shovel full of dirt. I was just part of
Well,
it.
that's important.
And it's growing.
It's thriving.
We should
It's-
measure it. I suggested to the
Yes.
curator, we should measure it on the 4th of July each year and
Yeah.
record it
Yeah.
so that posterity can see how we nurtured that tree. But it has grown quite a bit, so
It has grown, it's thriving.
I'm glad for that.
And the program is really lovely, and it consists basically of several parts. We're on from 12 to 1. It's Environmental Commission has partnered with the Wallace House. And basically what's going to be happening is that the Girl Scouts are going to lead the celebration of the flags. And then I've written a poem for the occasion, which I will be reading. And the Vanderveer School Chorus, led by Mrs. Patty Helwig, will be singing for us. So it's going to be lovely. And then there's a storyteller. Her name is Queen Noor. And she is going to be interpreting the poetry of Esther Hetty Saunders, who is probably one of the earliest Black American poets in New Jersey. So her poetry will be read and interpreted by this actress. And after that, there will be a tea tasting. A tea tasting because we're also commemorating the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. So there's going to be a tea tasting of the blends of tea that were actually used 250 years ago. So we'll be packaging some of those up and sending New Jersey's contribution to Boston. So it's going to be a wonderful day, and Mr. Mayor and every member of the council, we're inviting you to be there. And we hope you'll come and really support us in our endeavor to bring the community together. And also, we'll be partnering with Wallace House. We have some future events and ideas that we'd like to do, so it's a very promising and hopefully very enriching projects ahead.
And with the 250th anniversary coming up in a few years, the Wallace House is going to be the epicenter
Yes.
of a lot of interest. And work on the building should be starting, I think, next year. I know we have the $500,000 grant from the National Park Service, which was a major accomplishment. It's just winding its way through the federal bureaucracy now, but the money has been allocated, and they just have to do the bid specs and make sure that, you know, everything's in order. But it needs to be done while that building is still standing. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that work beginning to enhance the programming.
Yes.
It's a,
And you know what, Mary, not just to enhance the programming historically, but to enhance our community and business district too. I mean, you bring people to town with a solid museum in our community.
And we're really encouraging the community to get to know the Wallace House and the old Dutch parsonage, because I've asked people in town, have you been there? And many of them say no. And it's such a gem, and it has such potential. So I think it's a wonderful occasion.
Did you say that it's going to be a Saturday or Sunday that you're
Well,
doing your
there are two programs. It's the entire weekend. Saturday is, they're featuring the poetry of Phyllis Wheatley,
Okay.
who was actually, her book, she went to London. She was the correspondent for George Washington, and she went to London and wrote, and her books were actually shipped on the Dartmouth, which was a ship that came into the Boston Harbor. But that's Saturday. So our program is really focused on Sunday.
Okay.
And hope to see you there.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Second?
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes?
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
All right, public session's closed. We're at our consent and resolutions. We've already voted on 298 and 300. We have one, 308 has been pulled for further inquiry. We'll take that up at a future meeting. Council, any individual?
309.
309. Anyone else? I had, just a correction, Jeremy, Kevin, on 299, in the text of accepting the person's resolution, it referred to thanking him for his service. It should be changed to her, for her service, for Ms. Smunk. All right, I'll review these. 297 is approving the hiring of William Disla as a part-time hourly parking enforcement officer effective October 7th of this year. 299, accepting the resignation of Susan Smock effective October 5, 2023, end of business October 4, 2023. 301, resolution of the Borough of Somerville approving the refunding of certain of its outstanding debts utilizing proceeds from the sale of the borough's sanitary sewer system. 302, granting a right-of-way approval for New York SMSA Limited Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless. 303 is a change order for Eastern States Parkway. 304 is amending a contract with Greenman Peterson Professional Engineering Services. 305 is a salary adjustment to Paige Elster based on the shared service agreement that we adopted last meeting with Raritan Borough. 306 is approving a street closure on East Main Street from Grove to Bridge and Grove to Main and High for the Diversity Festival at the county in 2 weeks. 307, a reduction of performance bond for Jocelyn Fernandez. 308 we pulled, and 309 we're going to discuss privately. So I have a motion on those collectively.
So moved.
Second?
Council members Granville Brady,
Yes?
Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 309, authorizing a negotiated contract with First Goal Heating and Cooling LLC for Somerville Senior Citizens Housing Facility Air Quality HVAC upgrades. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Travick, you had a question?
Yeah, I don't know if this is imminent needs, is it for air conditioning or heating?
It's a clean air system that would go on to their existing HVAC system. And it also includes some individual wall units that would be placed in the common areas. This is a project that has been a little tough to get accomplished. It's federal dollars, and it's been out to bid twice, exactly the same bid twice, without a successful bidder. So the law does allow us to negotiate it. We did use T&M Associates to provide for the negotiation. They met with contractors and negotiated a contract. It's funded by CDBG dollars. So this is all originates with COVID money. That's why it's a hygiene-related type of thing. And it's only eligible for nonprofits. However, the municipality must take the administrative role in doing the project, so.
Okay, good, that's great that we don't have to pay for it, because I know that PSE&G, we talked about the home program earlier, they also have a business and municipal piece, so we should keep that in mind if we
Okay.
if we need other things.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out, this is the 7-story senior center, which is affordable housing for seniors here in Somerville. And it's across the street from Borough Hall.
Roll call.
Council members: Granville Brady,
Yes.
Tom Mitchell,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Bills and vouchers, Dr. Brady.
I was thinking of not paying anything this week because we're getting all that money from the sewers, but I guess we're going to have to anyway, don't you?
We have to set a good example by
We'll
paying
set
our
a good
bills.
example, Your Honor. So I move the payment of bills and vouchers in the amount of $702,609.05, and that is my motion.
Second,
Council members: Granville Brady,
Yes?
Tom Mitchell,
yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom,
Yes.
Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Before I call for adjournment, just have a personal aside. You'll see at the Borough Hall facility the pink ribbons. You'll see the council wearing various shades of pink and/or red and/or purple, whatever our wardrobe allows. Breast care, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Obviously, a topic very close to me. I would just ask the public, get screened. Advise your families to get screened. Not going to the doctor because you don't want to find out bad news is not a solution. And I think a lot of us are guilty of that. Like, well, I don't want to go because I don't want to find anything. It's like when you take your car in for service. You just hope that it comes out right. But please, if you even suspect your family has a history, and even if you don't, get screened. There are plenty of informational, articles, websites. Just do what you have to do for your own, health and that of your family. There'll be plenty of programming, plenty of resources available, and a personal plea from myself: if your means allow, make a small donation. Even if you don't have someone in your family who's affected, there are families out there that are. And there's a lot of good research going on and a lot of hope for a lot of people. And wouldn't it be nice if you were part of it?
Mr. Mayor, could I just add one thing?
Sure.
It's not spoken about enough, but men can also get breast cancer. So we think of this as a women's issue, a women's disease, but men get breast cancer. And they don't think about it, they don't get tested, but if if you have a family history, when you're at your yearly annual physical, you should have a breast exam by your doctor. I know it's taboo to talk about, but it's a thing, so.
And there is some correlation with prostate cancer, too. There are more and more links now between the proclivity for breast cancer in a family and prostate at the same time. And I didn't know that until recently. So again, get yourself screened, get yourself tested, and be part of the solution. Thank you for allowing me to have a little aside, and I'll leave it at that. Mr. Mitchell?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.